As the first light of dawn spilled across the rugged Wyoming landscape, a lone figure stood atop a windswept ridge. Rachel Carter, her weathered ranger uniform a testament to years of service, gazed out over Silver Creek Valley. The sagebrush flats shimmered like waves of muted gold, stretching towards the jagged silhouette of the Wind River Range. At 40, Rachel's once chestnut hair now bore streaks of silver, catching the early morning light like threads of frost. She had given nearly 2 decades of her life to this land, choosing the silence of the wilderness over the comforts of civilization. But it was the herd of wild Mustangs that roamed these valleys that truly held her heart. The survival of these magnificent creatures now hung in the balance. Hawthorne Enterprises, led by the smooth-talking Charles Hawthorne, had proposed a massive resort development that threatened to destroy the Mustang's ancestral home. To the county council, it meant economic growth. To Rachel, it meant the end of a legacy as old as the mountains themselves. With determination etched on her face, Rachel adjusted the strap of her well-worn camera bag. Inside lay her weapons for the upcoming battle: photographs, meticulous field notes, and GPS records. Each piece of evidence would prove that these horses were not mere transients, but a thriving, complex society with deep roots in this land. By mid-morning, Rachel had reached Falcon Bluff, a sandstone outcropping that offered a sweeping view of the valley below. As the last wisps of mist lifted, they appeared, the Mustangs. They moved with a grace that took her breath away, mares grazing peacefully, while playful foals bucked and frolicked nearby. At the forefront stood a magnificent chestnut stallion, his coat gleaming like burnished copper in the sunlight. A striking white blaze ran down his face, and a single white sock adorned his left foreleg. Rachel had named him Atlas in her field journal, for he seemed to carry the weight of the entire herd's future on his powerful shoulders. Atlas exuded an aura of quiet strength and vigilance. His very posture commanded respect, a living embodiment of the wild spirit that Rachel had sworn to protect. She raised her camera, capturing image after image of the herd, his intricate social dynamics. Proof that this was no barren wasteland, but a vibrant ecosystem teeming with life. So engrossed was she in her work that Rachel failed to notice the small fissures spreading beneath her feet. Without warning, the ledge gave way with a sickening crack. The world became a dizzying blur of sky and stone as she plummeted down the ravine. Pain exploded through her body as she struck the unforgiving ground. Her left leg snapped with a nauseating sound, and she felt ribs cave under the impact. As darkness claimed her, Rachel's last conscious thought was of the herd she had sworn to protect. When she finally regained consciousness, the world had transformed. Dusk painted the canyon walls in deep purples and reds, and a chill had settled over the land. Every breath sent daggers of agony through her chest. Her radio lay shattered nearby, leaving her without hope of rescue. As night fell, a new terror emerged from the lengthening shadows. 3 wolves, their eyes glowing like embers in the half-light, circled her broken form. The leader bared its teeth in a low growl, and Rachel clutched a jagged stone in her trembling hands. "Stay back," she whispered, but the words held no power here. Just as hope began to fade, a sound like distant thunder rolled across the valley. It grew louder, resolving into the unmistakable rhythm of pounding hooves. The wolves froze, their ears flattening against their skulls. From the darkness burst Atlas, his mane streaming behind him like a banner of defiance. He reared up iron-shod hooves, slicing through the air, and let loose a scream that shook the very stones. The chestnut stallion charged, striking with explosive force. The lead wolf yelped in pain and retreated, its packmates slinking away into the shadows. Rachel dropped her makeshift weapon, sobs of relief catching in her throat. Against all logic, a wild Mustang had come to her rescue. Atlas stood guard, his sides heaving, ears swiveling to catch any hint of danger. Slowly, he turned to face her, lowering his proud head until his warm breath washed over her face. What happened next defied everything Rachel thought she knew about these untamed creatures. Atlas knelt beside her, offering his broad back as shelter against the cold night. She edged closer, feeling the heat radiating from his powerful body. His slow, steady breaths seemed to lend her strength, a lifeline in the endless hours of pain and darkness. As dawn broke, Rachel's strength was all but spent. "I can't last another day," she whispered through cracked lips. Atlas stirred, rising to his feet before deliberately kneeling once more. His intent was clear, even if it seemed impossible. Summoning every ounce of will she possessed, Rachel dragged herself onto the stallion's back. Agony ripped through her with each movement, but finally she collapsed across his broad shoulders. With infinite care, Atlas rose, bearing her weight as though it were nothing. Step by sure-footed step, he carried her along treacherous mountain trails. He paused at a creek, allowing her to quench her desperate thirst before pressing on. Hours passed in a haze of pain and exhaustion until, at last, human voices pierced the air.
"Ow, Rachel."
"Over here?" As rescuers approached, Atlas knelt once more, allowing them to lift Rachel's battered form from his back. Before they carried her away, she locked eyes with the magnificent stallion. "Thank you," she whispered, tears cutting trails through the dust on her cheeks. With a soft snort, Atlas turned and trotted back towards his waiting herd. In the days that followed, many dismissed Rachel's story as the product of trauma and delirium. But Sheriff Daniel Reeves, a man known for his quiet determination, investigated the scene. He returned with irrefutable evidence. Hoof prints beside pools of Rachel's blood, chestnut hairs caught in the sagebrush, and a clear trail showing where a horse had carried a rider for miles across treacherous terrain. Weeks later, the county hearing that would decide the fate of Silver Creek Valley was packed to capacity. Charles Hawthorne spoke eloquently of economic opportunities, dismissing Rachel's account as nothing more than a fanciful horse tale. But then came the evidence that could not be denied. Sophie Carter, Rachel's niece, projected a series of photographs onto the wall. Images of foals nuzzling their mothers, of mares moving in protective clusters, and of Atlas himself standing proud and vigilant. The final piece of evidence was a video Sophie had captured of the herd fleeing a recent wildfire, led by Atlas with Rachel clinging to his back. A hush fell over the room, broken only by scattered gasps of awe. Sheriff Reeves stood, his voice gruffed with emotion. "We found the tracks. We found the blood. That stallion carried her out. The facts don't lie." The council's vote was unanimous. Silver Creek Valley would become the Atlas Mustang Sanctuary, a haven for these magnificent creatures and a testament to the unbreakable bond between humans and the wild. Months later, Rachel returned to the valley, her limp a reminder of her ordeal, but her spirit unbroken. As she crested a familiar ridge, she saw him, Atlas, standing apart from his herd. Though touches of gray now graced his muzzle, he was as magnificent as ever. Their eyes met across the distance, an unspoken understanding passing between woman and stallion. "Run free, Atlas," Rachel whispered. "Always." As the herd disappeared into the waving grass, Rachel knew that the spirit of the West, wild, untamed, and fiercely beautiful, would endure in this sacred place for generations to come.